This episode was brought to you thanks to the help of Otaku Noir. Otaku Noir is a Black-owned mystery box subscription service that fully curates each box with materials from creators of color. If you want to get your first box now, please go to their website at otakunoir.com and use our code UBGP to get 10% off your first order. Y'all, welcome to another episode of the Unapologetically Black Gaming Podcast, a podcast that is for Black gamers by Black gamers. I am one of your hosts, the infamous Hood Rat with the Heart of Gold himself, Cortez Washington, and as always, I'm joined by a special guest. This person is a gamer, writer, video editor. They are a contributor for this Escapist magazine. They also stream the Open Party podcast, which they host, and does some streaming with their son as well. Please show some love to KC Nwosu, aka Sigma.
Hey, what's up?
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. Quick correction. Don't want to step on your toes.
Okay.
But the podcast is the Sigma Show, which
the
is
Sigma Show. Okay.
Yeah, like that's like my personal baby. It's separate from the Open Party, which is another venture that I work with.
Okay.
And we do Super Smash Sunday with the Open Party, which is like a Smash stream for like weekly try hard sweaties.
Oh yes. All right. Great. So yes, the Sigma Show is his show. That's his baby. And
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, man. So happy to have you on the show. Can't wait to, chop it up about your pathway of like being a content creator and also like what it's like to be a contributor for the Escapist. But first things first, I want to ask you, what is your first gaming memory? So like, what's the first game that you remember playing that you were like, oh man, not necessarily a career path, but definitely like a long time hobby?
Oh man. This might be two things because I can't remember which actually came first. But like I used to go to like my cousin's house all the time, and they had the NES Duck Hunt there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I used to be obsessed with wanting to like use the little gun peripheral to shoot the screen and whatnot. So like that's a very early memory, but I know that was like late. That wasn't like when the NES was new or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just had it, and like that was the only access to video games I had at the time. But at my own house, like my aunt actually bought me and my brothers our first console ever, which was the SNES. And it came with Super Mario World back then. And I was young and sort of afraid to actually play the game. So like I would watch my uncle, who was living with us at the time, actually play through the game. And so like I just watched. Like I was fascinated, but I did not want to play. I was too scared, to the point where I remember having a nightmare about a particular level in Super Mario World, where it was just Super Mario World. It was the same level that I had seen my uncle play, but for some reason, like skulls were like raining from the sky, and that's the only thing that made it scary to me.
Oh wow! Oh,
but I got over that eventually. Like I played like one level over and over again in Super Mario World, and that was the only one I was comfortable with for whatever reason. And then eventually moved on from there, and then like fell head over heels in love.
Nice. So you had to work up the courage. It sounded like you had to work up the courage to keep going.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what it was really. Like I wasn't like that young. Like I want to say I was like maybe I had to be like 7, maybe like 6 or 7 at the time. But I don't know what it was that like made me like I was just terrified of dying, I guess, in the game. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, raining skulls. That's like it feels like death. It's like the end of days.
Yeah, that was my subconscious just beaming my fear back at me for no reason.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that's so funny. So I would love to get your origin story of like how you like got into this pathway of being in like content creation, and more specifically like writing and being a writer itself. So like I would love to hear that, how you got on that pathway.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, like from a pretty early age, like once video games were like introduced into my household, like I was pretty much obsessed with them. Like it's the main thing I wanted to do. Like I would draw pictures of video games. I would like talk to my I have 4 brothers, 3 at the time when I first started or whatever, and like all we would do is talk about video games. And at some point, it was just matter of fact that whatever I did was going to be video game related. I just didn't know what. Like, so, you know, when you're young, it's like, oh, I want to make video games, right? By the time I got to college and took my first coding class, like I got probably the biggest F I'd ever gotten in.
Oh, wow.
In any time, like, I'm not like a dumb person or whatever. Like I do relatively good at school, but like, man, did I fail. And I was trying, fam.
Yeah.
Like I was going home and studying with like a classmate and stuff. And like, like I have a math anxiety, I'm sure at this point. And so coding is just math with words, and like it just did not line up for me. So like I kind of pumped the brakes on that. Like I had aspirations of maybe being a video game artist, you know, like make characters, make background art, stuff like that. I took early classes in like drawing and whatnot, but I felt way out of my depth in comparison to like the other students in that class. Like I went to that class kind of wanting to learn how to be an artist, and the people I was in class with were already artists. Like I saw a dude friggin' draw a photorealistic horse by sitting in front of it and staring at it, and I was like, yo, I can't do like I'm in the wrong place.
Yeah, you can't compete with that, man.
Like I was like, oh no, I gotta get out of here.
You built different.
But what really clicked in a way that I wasn't expecting was one of my freshman classes, expository writing, was a class that almost everybody on my dorm floor hated. Like nobody wanted to go to expos. They all thought it was like super boring and super tedious to do. And for whatever reason, that was a class that I just clicked with. And like I really, really grew to like the idea of learning a lot about something and then writing out a sensible argument using that information. Like for whatever reason, that just made the most sense to me, and I was really good at it. Like I did very well in that class very easily. So like in talking to like my counselors and stuff, like I would tell them like, yeah, I want to do something in video games, but then they would notice like the thing that you seem to be very good at is writing. Like why don't you write for video games or write about video games? And I was like, oh, like I could write about video. I could be a journalist who covers video games, because that was the thing. Like I read video game magazines all the time, but like for whatever reason, I never thought of myself as being one of those guys. I always thought of myself as being one of the people who participates in making them, right?
Yeah.
So like once that kind of clicked, I like, oh, I'm actually really good at this, and then I can take that to apply to the thing I love, video games. Like that was always the goal, is to be like I graduated with a journalism major from school, and I wanted to write about video games. But I mean, you know how it is post 2006, like the housing crisis, like people just didn't end up where they wanted to be after graduating.
Yeah.
And so like I was lucky enough to find a decent job after about a year or two of searching post-graduation. And I was doing like tech support work, like network support stuff for Verizon Wireless. So like it was a pretty good job. I was making decent money. There's room for improvement. I was there for about 3 years and was getting very comfortable until they laid me off.
Oh.
So, but like I look back at that now, and that was pretty much the catalyst. Because like I was already at the time, like I was using the money I was making to buy stuff to make video game content. Like I bought like a bunch of video cameras. Like I was enlisting my friends and stuff to like help me try and make like podcasts. And I was like learning how to edit and upload to YouTube. But like I was splitting that time. It was like a side thing I was doing while I was just working all the time for Verizon. But like once they laid me off, I kind of took that severance money, use it to kind of live off for a little while looking for other work and doing other like kind of freelancey contractor-esque work, and just full on went into content creation. Like, since I have the time now, I'm just going to fill this time with the stuff I want to do, which is either play games, then write about those games, make content about the games, edit video about those games. And over time, I got noticed by a guy online who asked me to basically joined their indie game dev studio as like a social media guy. Like they wanted content for like their Facebook page and their YouTube page to just cultivate an audience who would then, I guess, buy their game when they ever released one. They never released a game, by the way. Like to this day, that studio never actually released a game. But the studio was called Life Abstract Gaming, and so like I basically took control of their YouTube channel, Life Abstract Gaming, and I used it to kind of just launch a video essay series, and I would just talk about whatever, like game stuff, nerd culture stuff, like movies, TV shows, anime, and over time, like that was where I honed my video editing skill for the most part. Like, that stuff isn't great, but I'm still very proud of a lot of those videos, especially some of the later ones before I stopped doing it. And after about 2 years of that, I applied to just outlets. And so I got a call back from Nick Calandra, who at the time was running his own site called Gamumentary. And so he liked what he saw from like my portfolio, had a quick interview. Now I'm making video reviews for the Gamumentary YouTube channel. And by pure happenstance, Nick gets approached and hired by the parent company for Escapist magazine, because they essentially buy his website and absorb him and make him the managing editor for Escapist magazine, which was all but dead at the time. Like it was kind of a dead legacy media website. But they put Nick in charge. Nick really liked working with me and some of the other folks he had under him, so he kind of just brought us along. So now we're all Team Escapist, and like from that point forward, about 4 years ago, we totally revamped the channel. We've added like a ton of new video content there, in addition to the one main thing that was on that channel, which was Zero Punctuation, done by Yahtzee Croshaw. And like we've added a ton of content to that channel, a ton of stuff, like new writers and stuff for the website. And now I do streams and stuff with them as well. Like we have several weekly streaming series. And like, it's a lot of fun. Like I'm having a great time doing this stuff. Like this is exactly the thing that I wanted to do from the very beginning. It was a long road to get there, but like I'm having a good time. Like I'm kind of living my dream right now.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That sounds like a great journey. And it sounds like you were, the thing that helped you out the most was just being prepared for when the opportunities arose, you know, like,
right.
And being there in that space and being there at the time where when that people approached you, or when it was time to be approached, you were like, oh yeah, I already got it, you know, like, or I've already got this experience or things like that. And you pivoting to one of your strong suits of writing rather than like trying to bash your head against the wall, trying to be like a programmer or coder. Yeah. Like,
cause I might have full on just given up on it if, and I got to give credit to my advisors, because that was a good idea to say like, hey, why don't you just do the thing you're good at, but then make that fit the thing you want to do? Cause that just wasn't a way I thought about things, I guess, before then. It was usually just like, well, if this is how this goes, then I have to adapt to that. As opposed to adopting the mindset of like, all right, well, I know what my strengths are. Let me now try and bend the world to my will.
Absolutely. And that's a great way to view it too. Yeah, it's like we all have strengths. It's just like, how are we going to make the world work in our favor with those strengths? And how are we going to, you know, seize the day? One dope thing is that you were part of like just like the revival of like this basically dead like brand or company, kind of like a phoenix, you know, like rising from the ashes, or like that saying, they'd be like, Escapist magazine is dead, long live Escapist, the Escapist, you know, like that type of scenario. Like what were some hardships that you faced like when you were like helping like get it back up to where it is now, you know?
That's a really good question, because there were two main things, and the first one is the controversy that kind of killed Escapist in the first place was something I personally was not aware of. Like I follow a lot of gaming magazines and outlets, but that particular situation was something that just wasn't in my wheelhouse. I'm sure you've heard of like the whole Gamergate situation, right?
Yeah.
Right. So like I knew what that was, but I didn't realize that there were any websites that essentially kind of sided with and kind of had a majority of their staff kind of go along with the sort of really nasty rhetoric and ideologies that spawned. And apparently Escapist magazine, before it went under, was very much a part of that in a bad way, and were kind of like blacklisted by every other outlet, several publishers and whatnot because of it. So like that was kind of their downfall. And I personally was not aware of that. So when the shift happened and Nick brought all of us over to Escapist magazine, I'm like, oh, I've heard of Escapist magazine. It's cool. Like, this is a brand with recognition that I can now be a part of and whatnot. Had no idea I was basically walking into like the charred remains of like a fire.
Yeah.
So it was difficult because like just having that associated with your name, a lot of people, especially like a lot of bigger media outlets who knew what the Escapist was before, you know how it is on the internet, right? Like they have a long memory and they never forget, or they never forgive, I should say. Yeah. So it's like, it doesn't matter that these are new people here. What they remember about the brand is still true to this day. And so like we had to struggle to kind of get review code from some people. Like we have access to like a lot of indie developers, which turned out to be one of our strong points. Like that's one of the main things that the Escapist is kind of known for right now, is that we give a lot of attention to indie games. Yeah. But it took a while for a lot of the publishers to recognize like, oh, this is a different group, or like this group has people who care about what they want to say. So like we'll start, working with them, giving them code. Like PR people started picking up the phone again, or whatever. So like that was just like a lot of grinding, honestly, and just doing the work we wanted to do, showing our faces and just being different people and cultivating a community around those people. But the second half of that is outside of all the Gamergate stuff, there was Yahtzee and Zero Punctuation, which was kind of the lifeblood of the channel from the beginning. Like it was the most popular show on the channel by far, and remained popular even after everything else around it crumbled. So like for a couple of years, it was just Yahtzee releasing Zero Punctuation on the Escapist. So for a big majority of people, that was the only thing they knew and wanted from that channel. So when Nick showed up and was like, hey, we're going to try to revive this, we're going to have new people doing this, that, and the third, anything that wasn't Zero Punctuation kind of started to get this, like some people would react to it as if it was like an affront to them. So like, because it's not Zero Punctuation, it's bad. Because it's not getting the numbers that Zero Punctuation gets, that's validation that is bad. And like they would take up this weird stance as if we were somehow hurting Yahtzee, who had been there, and that Yahtzee didn't want us there, or that we're going to change Yahtzee. Like this kind of weird rabid fan base mentality.
That's such a weird assumption to have.
It really is.
That's so weird.
And like, I got to commend Nick, the manager there, because what he did to try and address that was slowly sort of seed the new people in with Yahtzee. Like we started doing podcasts together. We started doing streams together. We started one of the biggest things is we started the D&D show Adventure is Nigh, where it's me, two other writers, and Yahtzee, with Jack Packard from Red Letter Media, who's also on the Escapist now, as our DM in a D&D campaign. And people just watching Yahtzee interact with other humans and have fun somehow broke their brains in a way that because he's gotten this reputation as kind of like a real curmudgeon of a game reviewer. Like he's very, wry, he's sarcastic, he's a British guy, old guard gaming press type stuff. But he's actually a really nice guy if you actually know him. But if you're only looking at his video content, some people get this perception that he's like this really sort of closet, neckbeardy, fedora wear. Because I mean, his like character in his videos literally wears a fedora. So like, it's kind of a character, but there's a lot of people who identify with that character as being like an outsider and a loner, and whatnot. And it's like that's just not the real person, and it's not the real story. Like, so like it took some time, but like a lot of the community have now warmed up to people who aren't Yahtzee on the channel. Like there used to be a recurring theme. It's like anytime one of us was on stream, folks in the chat would be like, "Where's Yahtzee?" And so that I want to say that went on for like maybe 1.5 to 2.5 years of people just showing up randomly like, where's Yahtzee? But eventually that went away. Folks now recognize us as well as Yahtzee, and they like to see us doing stuff with Yahtzee as well. So like every now and then, you still get like those outliers because Yahtzee stuff is still by far the most popular stuff on the channel, and for good reason. He's been doing it for like 10 plus years on that channel. But like the Escapist is so much more now, and like after all this time, it finally feels like it's been able to get out from under that shadow for the most part.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of legwork, and that sound like your redemption arc was like the longest experience, and also the most grueling, because like there's nothing worse than losing the public like approval, because it takes so long to like build that back up. Like, right. And not even just compare the Escapist to like the same experience, but like when I think about that, I think of like Muhammad Ali. When Muhammad Ali didn't want to go to Vietnam War, they just like shunned him, blacklisted him, and it took so long for him to get back in the good graces of the public. And it just seems like that was like the same, not necessarily the same, but like that same aspect of like really being like, look, all those people are gone. Like, this is something new. This is like this. Like we're really like a new team, like with different
and that's the thing that makes it like especially frustrating, because like it wasn't our fault. we weren't the people who did the thing and had to apologize for the thing. Like it should have just been a fresh start once we got there, but it wasn't. Absolutely. Like we had to do the legwork for a bunch of people who weren't there anymore.
Yeah, and I think even a name change would have actually hurt more than helped.
Yeah, it probably would have hurt. Yeah, because brand is everything nowadays.
Yeah, and especially a long-standing brand within the gaming industry is like games media. Like that's something that is like way like a lot more valuable, I say, nowadays than anything, because it is like, if you have like the long-standing IGNs, Game Informers, GameSpot, all those, and then you have like the Escapist. Like you said, the Escapist is for the indie community. Like really helps out with the indie community, and really helps with like broadcasting and build and like showcasing them. And so it like to not have that brand association, like one, to have the association be bad, but then also to like, if you were to say revamp it and change to something else, like the name and stuff, it'd just be like, well, what are you? And it's like, oh, we used to be this, and then people assume like, oh, they changed their name because they don't want nobody to remember they did all that bad shit.
Yeah, they're they're running away from.
Yeah, it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't type circumstance. And it sounds great that like y'all were able to like crawl back up. I mean, like crawl out of that, like dig out of that hole. It sounds like the Dark Knight Rises, when Bruce Wayne had to climb out of the
had to get out of the pit. Yeah,
had to get out the pit. Yeah, without the rope. You had to do it without the rope. That's what was saving him. Which also, can we talk about that? Like the rope was the part that saved him. I'm pretty sure the rope broke his back again.
Yeah, he fell really hard.
He fell hard, dude. And it was like at least like I think a couple stories. I feel like it was a couple stories, and it just snapped, and he was like, they said like it was like 6 months had passed, but like he didn't get better in 6 months though. Like, come on now.
I mean, he's Batman. He has plot armor in all media.
Plot armor, plot muscles, plot bones. Yeah.
Like as long as it's Batman, he can do it.
Man, yeah. I think they should redo that. I think it would be great to see it with the Robert Pattinson Batman, because I think they would like really break his back like hard. Just because like Matt Reeves is doing like very hard. He's like, it's like soft R Batman basically.
It's like a nice in between of like the older Batman movies, like Tim Burton-esque Batman movies, which are a little goofier but still like great to watch. Yeah. And then like the very serious Christopher Nolan ones. Like Matt Reeves is kind of hitting like a sweet spot in between those two.
Yeah, because it's just so ridiculous. Like
it is. I thought I think Robert Pattinson looks great in the bat suit or whatever. But when especially when he first walks in and like it's in the room with the cops, it very intentionally makes him look so ridiculous.
Yes, it does.
Like he looks like such a weirdo, and the cops react to him like he looks the way he does. And that was pretty jarring. I was like, that's kind of funny, honestly.
And like, imagine like Jim Gordon's credibility too, because it's like he's trusting this dude dressed up in his fucking costume, which like if you look close enough, the bat the bat logo and symbol is the gun that killed his parents. So it's
Right.
like, it's like, what the fuck? This dude is so angsty. And Jim is like, come on, man, trust him. He's one of the best. You know, like,
No, yeah, it's a really funny scene. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but like, yeah, that made me laugh a lot.
yeah. And then when the commissioner came in, was like, what the hell is he doing here? It's like, man, shit. The mayor's dead. You got this weird ass dude in here. What the fuck? He ain't saying nothing. He just staring. Stop staring at me, bro. Like,
That's like probably both the most realistic depiction of a Batman scenario ever.
honestly, yeah. And also, last thing I want to talk about is like, it was so creepy how they made him and the Selena Kyle thing like happen, because like he was just giving off all her information. Like he's like, I followed you here. I'm this. I'm mysterious. She's real life. She would have been like, you a fucking creeper, dude. Like, why do you know my name? Like, come on, bro. Like, but
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah. I mean, in that city though, like Batman makes sense because everything was it's so corrupt and so ridiculously terrible that like, of course the dude in the bat costume would be the greatest thing to happen to that town. Besides the billionaires that live there that could definitely fix it, but oh well.
That sounded a lot more real.
Yeah, a lot more real. Yeah, it does. Like billionaires, instead of being like, oh, I can use my money to, rebuild the infrastructure, support like candidates who are thinking about the city. They're like, nah, I'm gonna just wear a costume and beat up drug dealers.
or I'm gonna put a costume on a social media platform.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna dress this bird up like the letter X.
Man, the Riddler, he was just straight up just a regular degular dude on the internet. It was just like, I'm tired of this shit, man. He actually was more of a hero than Batman was, because he was like, I'm trying to break the status quo, because as an orphan in like this shitty orphanage, I was really like the bottom of the barrel. I'm the one that wasn't protected. And it's just like, and there's millions of me around here in this city. So why not kill the people who did that? But then when he blew up the bridges, of course, they had to make him seem like he was a horrible guy.
Yeah, they do that all the time. Like,
Yeah.
they make the villain have like really good points, but then it's like, oh, you went a step too far. Now your whole thing is irredeemable. It's like, I was with you until you had to shoot all those people or whatever you did.
They did that in Falcon and Winter Soldier when the
yeah, they did it in that. They did it in Black Panther with Killmonger.
Yeah.
All the time. There's always one step too far. It was like, all right, I can't now. I can't fly this flag.
It's like go that extreme route or maintain the status quo, which is really shitty still. Like, what do you want to do? And in some cases, I want to be like, hey man, let's hear him out real quick. Let's see what he talk about. I mean, we ain't gotta do all of it, but all right. So I do notice too that you like to do streams with your son, which is pretty dope. Like, what brought that on to be a thing for you now? Like as a process, and how's that been going?
Like I gotta admit that like it's not something I've been able to do as regularly as I've wanted to. Like we haven't had one of those streams in a little bit. Yeah, like kind of in the middle of that transition period where I lost my job and was trying to figure out what to do next. Like I had my son. Like he was born like maybe 6 months before I'd gotten laid off. So like it was a really scary time. Like he means the world to me, and I just wanted, like, with how hard I was working, like almost every hour of the day had to be dedicated to either creating content in order to make it worthwhile, make all that time I spent worth something, and then actually going to work to make money, because making the content wasn't making money. So it became kind of important to me. One, because video games are important to me, but two, because if my son were able to participate in some of that stuff with me, then that's me killing two birds with one stone, essentially. Yeah. It's like, me and my son can have this time together, and I can make this content. Like, maybe it'll be profitable, but at the same time, like, it's just a good memory. Like, I have like hours and hours and hours of he and I sharing that sort of experience, and like it's honestly it's probably my favorite piece of content that I've made, but it's the hardest to keep up because, like, he's getting older and older now. Like, he just turned 10 this past August. He was with me up until then. This past summer, he moved to Chicago where his mom is now. So like she'll have him primarily for like the next couple of years, and he'll just be like, you know, visiting this side because I'm on the East Coast. So he'll be visiting me for like holidays and whatnot. But I was just out there with him with my fiance for his 10th birthday.
Oh, nice.
So like it's not as easy to arrange that kind of stuff. Like he has consoles. Like I sent him a bunch of consoles over there. At some point, hopefully, I can get him like kind of just online with me, so we can like maybe start it back up.
Yeah.
But it's been rough. Like it's been rough trying to keep that going with all the work stuff I have to do, with him now having school and like his own activities and whatnot. It's rough, but like it's still a great memory. He asks me when can we do it all the time because he still, you know, he still loves he still loves those memories.
Yeah, that's so dope and so wholesome. Like just having that experience, and I really like it too that like you did it. The time that you had, you took advantage of it and you did it, but also like having like the videos and stuff of it like it will last for forever is amazing. But also providing like a unique approach to content. You know, a lot of times people like will like say like, oh yeah, you know, they'll mention their parent or something like that, you know, and I understand like the safety and concern of your child, but then also like showing them like there's a fun side to the internet that you can like tap into as long as it's safe and monitored, and you're doing it with people that are worried about your well-being. And it's great that you're able to tap into that and like have that experience with them. And like it goes to show our generation like now is very different from our parents. Our parents did not like, they played games with us. I've met a few people who said that like, yeah, my parents were into video games, but it's rare, like few and far in between.
Yeah, like I'm 36, and for most people around my age, it is super rare for their parents to have had anything to do with their video game upbringing. Like I remember exactly one time where my mother like sat down and tried to play games with us. And it was just the one time. She never did it before or after that.
Yeah, man. It's funny because I'm 31 and my parents they bought us games, but they never really played them. And my mom would buy us funny games. Like she would like if it was a bargain bin game, she would buy it, and she didn't understand like it was trash. Like one time she bought us this game called Cookies and Cream.
Wasn't that Sega? It's like Sonic spinoff.
It's Cookies and Cream. It's Sonic, but you know who else? Surprisingly, it was made by From Software. So it's like one of
that's true.
From Software is one of their like early games, and I was like, and I remember seeing that like when I think like last year I was like, what the shit? Like I played this From Soft game when I was younger. It wasn't hard. It was just it was just stupid. But
everybody got to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like that experience for that. But then also like I don't know what happened, but like at one point they just bought a used Wii, and they just love Wii Sports. Like they love like. Well,
yeah, that like this is something I say pretty often is that the Wii was a total fluke for Nintendo. Like the huge success of that was because it became like a fad. Honestly.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
yeah.
It is not based on the merits or the innovation of that console or its motion controls, not because of the quality of the games on the platform. Like there were good Wii games because Nintendo always makes good games for every generation, of course. But like the Wii was a dumb idea that was a novelty that worked for everyone who didn't actually care about video games. And that's why they sold a ridiculous amount. And this was proven because they tried to basically do a Wii 2 with the Wii U gamepad thing.
Yeah.
And that flopped super hard.
Super duper hard. Honestly, the Nintendo Switch is like the second coming of the Wii just because of like the motion controls and like the portability, like the motion controls with like taking the Joy-Cons off and doing all that stuff. But also the amount of shovelware that's on there. Oh my God, dog.
Yeah.
There's so many shitty games on the damn Nintendo.
Like, Nintendo is a brilliant video game publisher, but they also have the most absurd luck of any video game publisher as well. Because like the Switch's success is largely due to the pandemic.
Yeah, facts. Pandemic and Animal Crossing, like people were like, I can like experience a world that takes me away from this hellhole known as COVID-19. Like,
like it was just the perfect place at the perfect time for exactly the thing that they thought up in that moment to do gangbusters, and it did.
Yeah. I don't know what would have happened if the pandemic didn't happen. I think the Switch would have still did pretty decent,
Yeah,
but
it had done okay, but I don't think it would have done as well as it's doing at this point.
It would have I think it would have hit like the 3DS did. 3DS did pretty good, but it wasn't like the most amazing selling console. It was like it did really good though.
Yeah, but like my honest guess is that if there was no pandemic, the Switch would have been successful, but Nintendo would have launched another home console aside it by now.
Oh yeah, of course, most definitely. Yeah, the
Switch would have basically taken over their handheld market, which they've now they've kind of abandoned fully now. Like they've somehow managed to merge their console and handheld market, which were two separate things prior to the Switch, into one thing, which sounds like a bad idea because that's two different revenue streams that go away. But that's how successful the Switch was in that window of time.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to worry about doing that.
And like two types of content too, because like handheld game. A lot of times the handheld games like they are immersive, but they're not like too deeply immersive. They're definitely like you can drop in, drop out type of scenario, like type of gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like the console is like you're sitting down in front of this and you're doing extended gameplays or extended experiences.
And that's again like things just line up for Nintendo because that's the kind of game they make, even on their console. Like Nintendo was never the part of like this big immersive cinematic adventure push type thing. They always made smaller, very gameplay focused experiences, and that works very well on a handheld, regardless.
Yeah. So
like they can port anything that they would have made for a main home console to a handheld console, and it does practically just fine.
Yeah. I think, man, that's gonna be a story in the next 10 years. Like Nintendo Switch. Luck or great business strategy. But speaking of consoles and stuff, man, what's some games you playing right now? What's got your interest right now?
Oh man, this year in particular might go down in history as like the full on best year for game releases point in my period. Like there have been so many high quality games at every level. Like there's dope stuff coming out in the indie space. There's dope stuff coming out in like the mid-tier AA space. And then you got super massive AAA games that are just getting 10s and 9s every left which way. Like Hi-Fi Rush came out earlier this year and I was smitten with that game. Yeah. But then the only thing I think I was looking forward to up until then was Street Fighter 6, which I wish I had more time to play that game. It is fantastic. Street Fighter 6 might be the best fighting game I've played since Smash Ultimate. And Smash Ultimate is like my favorite fighting game ever.
Ooh, that's a huge take. I mean, I haven't played it, but I don't know if any of the listeners are going to be like, yes or no. I don't know, but that's dope though. I mean, Street
Fighter 6 is fantastic.
It's the next 2 years are going to be the fighting game community's like pure bliss because there's so many things coming out. There's the Mortal Kombat that's coming out.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat, Tekken
next year.
Oh, next year, right.
King of Fighters is coming. It's like Final Fight is coming. I'm surprised they won't announce another like what was the game with the Beast? It was like Beast Wars, Beast Fury, something like that. Where you can fight as a rabbit.
You can fight as a rabbit. I don't know. Primal Rage.
It was Fight as a Rabbit Transformation. Damn it.
There was some other Arc System game this year too, I think, right? Guilty Gear.
Guilty Gear, yep.
Yeah.
Guilty Gear, and then like Dragon Ball Z Dragon Ball Fighters. Gotta mention that Z. They're consistently getting updates. Which shout out to them because like those Dragon Ball games, you could think they used to just churn them out. Now they're just like, we'll just update them. Like that was stupid. Like we gotta work smarter, not harder.
Fighter Z is a really smart way to make a IP game.
Fighter Z,
they knocked it out of the park with that.
Xenoverse 2 and then Kakarot, like they were like, we're covering all our bases, baby. Like, what's up?
I don't see the point of a Dragon Ball RPG.
No, I mean it's weird, because it's like, especially like with the original storyline and following that, because it is very interesting to be like, oh, we're going over this story again for the
it's like again, like the franchise is like 30 years old.
They like what Bandai Namco does to Dragon Ball Z is what like American like Western gaming gaming studios do for like World War II. You know, they just keep going.
Yeah,
just keep going back.
Let's keep reminiscing.
Just keep running back. You remember this war? It's like, bro, like stop stressing out Grandpa, man. Like he tired of seeing it looks more and more real. I'm gonna catch Grandpa with the pistol out and sitting on the table at some point with a helmet on, man, because he having flashbacks, man. Stop.
Yeah, they keep retreading the same ground. I actually just remind me, I did a video essay about how anime games deserve better.
They do.
Like, I don't know where it is on Escapist now. You could probably search hard for it, but it's like essentially, yeah, I talked about how like the go-to is, you know, a collection of shonen characters all just fight each other in like an arena, like the Shippuden Ninja Storm games and whatnot.
Yep.
And it's like, this is all flash and no substance. Like this isn't this isn't a real game. Like this is a toy for the people who are fans of the show.
Yeah. I think the one that just recently did it, I think it did a good job. I didn't play it, was the One Piece Odyssey. Like it had like the great art style. It was like an adventure, like its own storyline, you know?
Oh yeah, that was an RPG. I don't think I tried that at all.
Me
I remember playing one of those One Piece like Dynasty Warriors clones, and that wasn't terrible. But
yeah, those, and it's interesting because like I won't play those, but then again I'll be like, ooh, I really want to play that. Like Persona 5 Strikers, like I wanted to play that so bad.
Yeah, if it's a franchise that you're into, I can see the draw. Because like I really wanted to try the Legend of Zelda one, but in my heart I was like, this is a Muso, and I'm not gonna care about it as soon as I get it. Like as soon as I start playing it, I'm gonna drop it.
And it ran at like 15 frames per second on the Nintendo. You might as well just watch like a fanfic. I mean, a fan movie of it, or AV, or a PMV or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like it's wild that they do deserve better. But yeah, man, it's been the year of the fighters. I love seeing like a lot of like Unreal 5 games coming out.
Yeah, they're finally starting to release. I actually just finished Immortals of Avium. Like I did a review for Escapist, and that was surprisingly really good.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, like super high production value. Like everything is gorgeous. The story was really good. The acting was great. Like I really enjoyed it.
That's what's up. I'm gonna have to get that a try. I love first-person shooters, and it looked like it's like Doom but magic. Is that right? Doom but magic?
That's a good way to look at it. Okay. Doom but magic.
All right, cool. Say less. That's getting downloaded today. What are some games you're looking forward to that's coming out soon, like within the next year or so?
Well, I mean, Armored Core 6 just came out. Like I've just booted that up, and I'm having a great time with that. But I kind of want to see what Cyberpunk's DLC is about.
Yeah.
Like I was very lukewarm on the original game. Like even before it came out and was like a trash fire. Like I was like, I don't see what the big deal about this game is. But I did play it to completion after it released and was kind of a trash fire. And I was like, it's okay. Like it's nothing revolutionary, but like I like the stories. The world is like amazing.
Yeah.
But then, Edge Runners came out, and that really reignited a lot of like fanfare for that universe. And now that they're claiming that they fixed all the things that were wrong and that they've added new systems to make the world a lot more close to what they originally had planned, I'm very curious to see if they've done that. Yeah. So Cyberpunk is on my radar right now. That Phantom Liberty DLC.
Yeah. I can't wait for that too. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I can't wait for that because I thought because I played Cyberpunk and I thought I did like a little bit of time in it, and I had like 27 hours in it. I was like,
that's not a little bit of time.
I was like, what? I didn't realize. I didn't realize I committed that much time to the game though, because you think you're just playing, doing stuff. You know what it was? Actually, I think about it now. I was trying to make my character, so I was trying to do like a side mission or gig, and I was trying to do a sneaky with the Mantis Blades. But I needed to power up the Mantis Blades to make them stronger because they were overpowered. The people were overpowered. So I think I did was level that up. But then I acquired the charged jump, so I could jump up on the second floor, so I didn't have to fight the people on the first floor. And I think that took me a lot of time to get that. So
you go down a path of this thing leads to that thing to this.
Yeah,
like that was one of my biggest disappointments is that game it didn't really let you make and role play a character you wanted.
Yeah.
Like you play a character, you play V, and I found V super annoying. Like V lacked any real motivation, just wasn't an interesting person. But like everything around V was interesting, but V themselves was just mad annoying to me. Like I was trying to make a Major Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell, and Cyberpunk wouldn't let me.
Yeah, man. They won't. They don't let you do that. It's so weird when they have like it's a RPG and like they talked about all this customization and stuff, but then it's in first person, so you can't really see it. And then it's like predetermined how this person talks and all these things, and it's just like you're in their shoes, but also like not really feeling it. Like you can feel immersed, but also not really because you didn't like fully create this person. That which brings me back to I was just playing Outer Worlds last night or something because I really like that game. I just like it because it's like makes fun of the corporations, which is pretty cool. Right. But I was playing that and I felt like the character, you know, like I felt in ways that like I could be like the character I created and like the responses I had and the things I could say and do, like, and it felt good to do that because I don't know, it just felt like more like I was in control of what could happen rather than like in Cyberpunk, like regardless of what's going on, you still are dying of this thing and you got to get this fixed and all this stuff. Yeah. But hopefully Phantom Liberty, I know the revamp, like they said, it's going to really change up the RPG elements and really make it feel more immersive. So hopefully
it's totally different. I hear like when you first reload your old save, like you're gonna have to respec your entire character because like all that stuff.
Damn, that's so stressful. Yeah. But what other games are you looking forward to? Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. Like there's so many games that have already come out, but there's still so much left. Like Ghost Runner 2 is on the horizon.
Yeah, sleeper.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like this is definitely going on the radar, especially in a year like this. But like that first game was really fun. Like first person, like tough as nails, platforming / like actiony stuff. It's basically a splatformer like Super Meat Boy or Celeste, but in first person with like Mirror's Edge like parkour.
Yeah, and that's like that's dope.
Yeah, it was really freaking fun. And the second one looks like they're amping all of that stuff up that was in the first game. Like sequels in video games are usually the real version of the game that the people were trying to make, right? Like, especially if you get like a first game and it was like, oh, this has some cool ideas. Yeah. Usually the second game is like, they put everything that they really wanted to do in it. So like, I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, that's a sleeper. One game I'm looking forward to is El Paso Elsewhere. That looks really cool. Mm-hmm. And because that looks really sick. Like just taking that Max Payne style gameplay, which I feel like a lot of games don't do anymore. They like really scared to tread the Max Payne route, you know? And it's like, do that shit.
Yeah, it was a bigger thing like in the 2000s, I guess. Like post Max Payne, like everything was like treading in bullet time. But yeah, like a lot of stuff has like moved away from it. Like you usually only get like the slow-mo stuff like defensively. Like, oh, I did a parry or I did a dodge and now everything's slow, as opposed to just let me activate slow-mo whenever I want.
Whenever I want, dude. Yeah, absolutely. So we're getting close to the end of the episode, so this is time for positive affirmation, words of wisdom from the guests. So this is a time where you can give the audience any words of affirmation you like to like tell yourself in order to keep you going, or things that you feel like people should know or hear to, you know, stay on the up and up and stay on the right path. So I'm gonna take a step back and let you step up.
Okay. So probably some of the best advice I'd ever heard was something that I continuously heard from just all like the media people that I would listen to on podcasts and on videos and whatnot. And it's especially if you're trying to get into this sort of a medium, your best bet is to just start, as opposed to like waiting for, you know, some sort of opportunity from someone, or like you don't need a big audience. Like you kind of just need to start making content. And I don't want to say like that's going to work for everybody, because very clearly it doesn't. But at the very least, you will learn some things about yourself. You will know if it's a thing that you actually want to do, if it's something that you can stick with, you know what I mean, over time. So if you do have an aspiration, and this can probably apply to anything even outside this medium, like if there's something you want to do, a lot of hesitation stems from like the idea that you will fail or that you're not the right fit for it or something like that. But if you're very passionate about it, just start. Like, do what you need to do to get started and then take it from there. Like if it turns out, you know, you're enjoying yourself, then keep it up. But if it's not working out, like you know, you're having second thoughts, like you feel like your attention is elsewhere, then by all means, at least you tried, you know, and you know that this was an avenue that you know, looked at, but ultimately moved away from. Because I don't know where I'd be if I kind of just left it on my laurels and went like, all right, well, I'm in this space now, and because this thing hasn't worked yet, I'm going to just go back to what I was doing before. Because I know I'd be a much less happy person in that regard.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, there's nothing better than saying I tried it and I gave it my all, you know, and
right.
Feeling like, you know, and I got some great stuff out of it. But if it don't pan out, then hey man, it don't pan out. But at least you did it, rather than sitting on your hands and feet, thinking and hoping. Because like, I think somebody gave me the similar advice that you said too. Is like, don't not take a chance on something, like even if it is for 2 years, because 2 years later you're gonna be in the same place, you know. Mm-hmm. And so like, it's just like taking that chance and being opening yourself up to opportunities like that. So great. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Last question I have is, what are 5 games you think every gamer should know about?
Ooh, 5 games every gamer should know about.
Yeah, this is the hardest question, actually. That's the hardest question.
Like, yeah, I've had a rotating list of my 5 favorite games of all time, but this is different than that, right? This isn't what are your favorites. This is what should everyone know about.
Like, it can include maybe a couple of your favorites. Maybe it's like a favorite, not a favorite of yours, but you know how important it is, or you know, whatever you feel like, whatever you feel like the list should be. That's what you can do.
Okay. So this is probably a selfish pick, but Mega Man X.
Okay.
One of the greatest video games of all time. It's a timeless classic, but it has a lot of fundamental truths of video game action platforming that I think can be appreciated by anyone. Like, there are games today that still can only feel as good as Mega Man X versus something better. You know what I mean? Like, that's how revolutionary that game was. So that would probably be top of that list. Another selfish pick, Perfect Dark for the N64. There are a lot of people who will say GoldenEye was like the best first-person shooter on the N64, and that is because those people never played Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark, like I mentioned earlier, Perfect Dark is the spiritual successor. It's GoldenEye 2. It's what Rare wanted to do and couldn't because they had a license tied to it and because it was their first game on that platform. Perfect Dark took all of the stuff they did in GoldenEye, applied a new world to it, and then just put tons and tons of extra content, levels. Like, it's amazing. It is the best first-person shooter of that era. And I hope they do it justice when they bring this game back, because it was announced a long time ago and it's been in development hell since then. Yeah. So man, I hope Perfect Dark comes back and is something worthy of that lineage, because Perfect Dark Zero was not. So yeah, Perfect Dark would be one. Super Mario World, I think, is very fundamental as well. Like, that's just a timeless video game that anybody can get into. I want to say one of the Zelda games, but in all honesty, I don't think everyone would like those. Like, I think a certain audience would be maybe put off by what those games do. But I personally love that series. It's one of my favorites. Yeah. But yeah, I don't want to spend forever on this. I'll just say Legend of Zelda. Link to the Past. I'll put that on there. Okay. How many games do I have left? 1 or 2?
I think you got 1.
1 left. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say not the Outer Worlds that you mentioned earlier, but the Outer Wilds.
Okay.
Which is that space exploration game where you traverse a solar system that's basically dying, and you go back to the beginning of a 22-minute loop before the solar system explodes. That game is phenomenal for a number of reasons. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but if I could force what that game does to the people who loved it on anyone, I would.
Okay.
Like, that's the one game where I wish I could like erase it from my brain to experience it over again on a regular basis.
Okay. So that's like one of those greater experiences. Okay.
Like that game is incredible.
All right. So I just want to make sure I got your numbers right. So Mega Man X, Perfect Dark, Zelda, Outer Wilds. I think you might actually have one more.
Oh, I do have one more.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I do have one more, then I'm going to say Portal 2.
Okay. Portal 2.
Portal 2 is a masterclass in how to do video game writing. Like, from top to bottom, that game has impeccable comedic timing and dramatic irony and stakes, all wrapped up in like its short, bite-sized puzzle focused levels. And to this day, I think it has probably the best ending in a video game period.
Okay. Yes. And you also mentioned, like you said, sequels are just the first game, but
right,
a lot
exactly.
better. Yes. Yeah. And that one definitely attests to that because, the first Portal is fun, and it has like, it has its uniqueness and its own unique like personality, but then the second one just takes it to another level, And
right, like the first one was kind of a test, honestly. It's about like an hour and a half long. It just had a bunch of concepts and ideas, but the idea was so strong that they expanded both that and its story into something truly incredible. Like Portal 2 is an incredible video game, but in particular, the way it ends and that entire sequence surrounding its ending is just one of the best things I've seen done in a video game.
Yes. Great. See, damn, that was nice. Casey, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, no problem.
Where can the people find you on the socials, and what can they expect when they tune into your content?
You guys can find me at Sigma Gears 9 on Twitch, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, anywhere that there's a social thing. My tag is probably there at Sigma Gears 9. You can also find me on Escapist Magazine's YouTube page. I stream like 5 out of the 7 days a week over there. And I also have like review videos, video essays, just there's a lot of content with my name attached to it over there. Check out Adventures 9, which is the live action roleplay D&D show that we do. It's on its 3rd season. We just shot that 3rd season in person over back in March, April. We were out in Wisconsin and we shot that all together for the first time because we've been doing it for like 3 years now.
Oh, nice.
But we're all actually sitting at the same physical table for the first time for this 3rd season. And that's releasing currently. Like, I think it's on episode 3 now of the full season. So check that out. For my personal stuff, I do my own podcast, The Sigma Show, which is a video game news show. Like, I usually invite 3 guests. They're reoccurring people. So like, you'll see familiar faces, but it's not always the same people. And it's people from the industry, like colleagues that I've met in journalism stuff, or just friends that I've made, playing video games online and whatnot. And so we'll get very different viewpoints on like particular issues in video games and whatnot. And honestly, Cortez, like, I'd love to have you on at some point if you're ever free.
Hell yeah, I'm always free. Well, no, I'm not always free, but yeah, I'd love to be on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll definitely hit you up about getting you on there at some point. But yeah, so like, that's my weekly show that I do. And then on Sundays as well, for the Open Party, which is the Black Discord. Well, not a Black Discord. It's a Black gamer Discord. But of course, it's multicultural. There's a bunch of other people in there as well. But for them, we have our own Twitch channel for the Open Party. Me and one of my best friends in the world, actually, Superman Jeff, we host Super Smash Sunday weekly as well. It's a 3-hour block of just King of the Hill, 1v1 Smash fighting, and like, it is a really fun time as well. Like, we have a great time doing that every week.
Yes. Dope.
So
man.
so yeah, you can check all that stuff out. I make a lot of content. Like I don't get a lot of sleep at all.
You out here, man. That's they gonna see you. They see you everywhere, like Steve Harvey. Got to see your face everywhere. And if you want to follow us on the socials, we are UBG Pod on TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. I think that's it. I always forget. But yeah, follow us on the socials. Keep up to date on the show and things we got going on. And thank y'all so much for listening to this episode. And as always, be happy, drink some water, and keep gaming.